Sadnam. We are Jen and Ramtan from Heart Center Revolution.
Our intention with this podcast is to share the best of Kundalini Yoga and conscious living with you so you can live a more heart-centered life. Welcome to the third episode of the Heart Centered Revolution podcast. We are so excited to have you here today and to share with you today's discussion about mantra. Well, it starts out as a discussion about mantra, but as the conversation evolves, it leans more towards discussion of the three minds. So in the yogic anatomy, we are taught that there are three minds: the positive, negative, and neutral. So those are a recurring topic in today's discussion. And so at the end of the podcast, I share with you how you can have access to a mini workbook that I created that gives you more details and more information about how each of the minds work and how to balance them out. And then also a step-by-step guided meditation / journaling exercise that you can go through to really access all three minds, especially if you're in a situation that you feel stuck in, or you can just do it to learn more about the three minds and kind of get more acquainted with what those minds sound like for you. At the end of the podcast, we also do our 3-minute pranayama of breath of fire, so you have that to look forward to. Before we jump into Ramtan's class, I wanted to explain in advance a couple of things. So he starts off with discussing the Shabad Guru, which is Shabdguru. And so Shabad Guru is kind of an obscure word. I don't know that anyone would know it unless they had taken teacher training, but it basically means the power of sound. It's kind of, the translation is it's sound that is a teacher. So it's what we use to refer to mantras, but it's really any sound like Om or even Amen, like any sound that brings inner wisdom and brings lightness to the darkness would be considered Shabad Guru. So Ramtan's going to expand a little bit on that in the beginning of the class. He also talks about the ego. So I wanted to clarify that what ego means in the yoga philosophy. As a therapist, I come from learning psychology and the Freudian terms of ego and superego. And in yoga, it's a little bit different. So in yoga, this concept of ego is that, ego is the part of us that identifies our separateness from everyone else. So one of the fundamental purposes of yoga is to recognize that we are all one and to feel that connection with our highest self, with the highest self, or with the infinite, and to feel that connection with everyone else around us, that we are all indeed the same. We are all connected. However, on this earthly plane, we are separate. And so that's where our ego comes in. Our ego is our identity. That's kind of a nice way to think of it. So our ego is what separates us from other people. What says, I'm a woman and I am from Southern California. I'm a Californian, that I have a dog. It's kind of all those pieces that we acclimate together to create an identity in this human form. And so our ego is not bad. It's not something to be erased, but it is something to be balanced out. So the ego, when it gets out of control, it brings a lot of fear and doubt into play. And so this happens with us a lot when we're on our spiritual journey, because as we become more in alignment with our connection with the infinite and with our connection with everyone else, our ego starts to dissolve a little bit. It starts to become less powerful over us. And then it tends to fight back, and kind of have these death throes of being really scared that it's going to lose its identity and that essentially a part of us dies. As we go through this growth process, we become new people. We shed old skin. And that is incredibly rewarding and beautiful, but it's also painful and scary. And so the part of us that becomes afraid is our ego, because we are losing our identity. And then this fear of, well, who am I? If I'm not so-and-so, if I'm not a student, or I'm not, a mother, if I'm not these roles that I've taken on in my human form, what am I? And the answer is that you are infinite, you are perfect. But that can be a scary thing for our ego to handle, and our ego might fight back and sabotage us a little bit. But that's okay. You just kind of work on balancing it. And then the other thing I wanted to talk about a little bit before we jump into his class is the Aquarian age. This comes up a lot in Kundalini yoga because the gentleman who brought yoga to the US did so to help our country and to help the Westerners, us Westerners, have the tools to handle the Aquarian age. So it's very intimately tied with Kundalini yoga. But the Aquarian age began on November 11th, 2011, and it is marked by this transition that we're feeling right now of this increased intensity, increased information, increased everything. Like everything's just so intense, from the news to our families to what's going on in the world, what's going on inside of us, what's going on in Mother Nature. Everything is very intense. And so this is marking a transition from one age into another. The demands upon us are going to be greater than they ever were before as human beings. And so we need tools and techniques in order to stand up to them and withstand them and indeed excel with them. And so that's what Kundalini yoga gives to us. It's also known that for the Aquarian age, what has worked in the past is no longer going to continue working. So in the past, it's been all about competition, getting money, having secret information, and control over other people. And that is no longer going to work. And let me take that back. It's not going to happen overnight, but we're in this transition from that way of being to a new way of being. And so this transition is bringing up fear for everybody. And so the people that you see on the news that are acting out, or in our politics who are acting out, have some compassion for them. They're feeling the same fear and intensity that you are. It's manifesting itself differently. You're bringing yourself to higher awareness, higher consciousness, and practices like this. And then people who don't have access to those tools or who are not ready to go there are acting out in the way that suits them or that makes sense to them. So that's my 2 cents on that. It's a little bit of a tangent. But some markers of this transition is in the past, it's been, like I said, competition, secrecy. Whoever has the most knowledge can kind of have control over other people. But we're moving into an era where we're more cooperative, compassionate, and where wisdom is valued over knowledge. And so it's not enough to have the information. You have to have the wisdom and the experience to know when and how to apply it. And so that's a big transition that's happening now. And the information won't be kept private. We can just share it. Everyone's going to have access to all the same information. And so you've got to step up and apply it yourself. That's it for this information that I wanted to prepare you for. So we will dive into Ramtin's class. And as I did last time, I'll kind of provide some interjections here and there to expand or explain the discussions that the students were having.
All right. What a great tune-in we had. It was great energy. Did you guys feel it? Yeah, very synchronized and special. Let's talk about the quantum energy of sound. Shabad Guru. That's the quantum energy of sound. Shabad, Shah, Shabd. Simply means just teacher and knowledge that is taught through sound. A teacher for transformation. Transforming our mind through the knowledge of the sound, the quantum energy of the sound. So Shah, S-H-A, means ego, the energy of ego. But BD means to cut off. So the Shabad really cuts off that ego mind and transforms that ego mind into a more, neutral energy. Is now an age of awareness. So the technology we have in Kundalini Yoga, the sound, the mantras, mudras, and using by or what we have within, the technology that exists in our body, the science, that is a byproduct of the creation, science and technology. We are becoming more aware of that within our body and what's out there and the usage of it to expand our awareness and our consciousness. And that's what this age is about, becoming more aware of who we are and the consciousness that goes beyond just our physical form. So using the technology of sound is huge. The mantras we use, there's a specific science behind it. Some of us are more sensitive to sound, auditory, visualization. Some are more feeling, kinesthetic. So we be more sensitive and we feel the energy move through the, quantum energy of the sound. But no matter how sensitive we are to it, still does what it is supposed to do for us. So, what is your experience with the mantras and like the meditations you do? Which one resonates with you most? The ones that do include mantras or silent ones? Which mantras resonate with you? It could differ at different times. You just listen to one of the mantras and it just captures you. So notice that it's not by accident, or it just happens. It's something, some energy within that mantra, within that sound that is needed as something that's resonating with you. There's a reason for it.
I want to elaborate a little bit on what Ramtin's talking about here, about mantras coming to you. I have really strong experience with this. And if you listen to Kundalini mantras, you'll notice it too, where at different periods in your life, different mantras will kind of vibe with you. So you can listen, like for example, if you have Pandora, you can start a Sanatam core radio and different Kundalini mantras will come through. And depending on the day or the month or what my needs are, certain mantras, it can be different songs. So the Mole mantra, just as an example, there can be 3 different songs that are of that mantra, and I'll go about my day listening to Sanatam car radio in the background. And those are the ones that kind of peek through my subconscious mind and kind of come up to my consciousness and like make my ears perk up a little bit, or they have a different vibration to them. And so then I know that that's the mantra that I need to be resonating with. That's what is going to get me to my next stage of personal growth. And so I'll make like a playlist of several different versions of the Mole mantra and just play it in the background, because there's something inside me, like there's a spidey sense. Like it's almost like I have goosebumps and the hairs raise on my arms. Or it's like when that mantra plays, it's not actually louder, but it has that same impression on me. It's almost like the volume's turned up when that mantra comes on. And then I know that that's the mantra that I just need to sit with and either do a meditation for, or like I said, create that playlist so that I can have it going in the background. So these are the messages that come through, and that as you get more sensitive and become more trusting, you want to listen to, you want to pay attention to them. These are messages from your highest self or from the infinite, whatever conceptualization is more comfortable for you. But it's trying to tell you what you need. And if you can listen, then you can prevent yourself from having negative experiences, because these messages come through in thought form. And then if we ignore what we need in thought form, then it'll come through as an emotional form, like a negative emotion. And then if you ignore it, then it comes through in physical form in the terms of like medical conditions. So it's important that we learn to listen. And when you feel that like inspired, light bulb moment of like, oh, I should listen to this or I should do that, if it feels inspired and like it's in resonance with your soul, then take action on that. Don't question it, because that's your internal guidance system telling you which way you need to go. And now, during this break, as I've been talking, Rompton and the students have had a little discussion. One of the students answered his question by saying that she got this light bulb moment, and the word that came through to her was to meditate on God. And so this was for this student. That was what was calling to her. And then another student talks about how difficult it can be when you get these messages, or sometimes you'll get one message and then get a conflicting one and then get another one, and it's hard to know what to do because it seems like your brain can't make up its mind. And so Rompton goes into a discussion of the positive, negative, and neutral minds to help the students understand what's happening when you have that experience, when it's like, oh, I should do this. No, I shouldn't. Yes, I should. No, I shouldn't. Like that back and forth kind of a thing that we all experience. He's going to talk about the positive, negative, and neutral mind as an explanation of that cycle that we go through.
If you develop the neutral mind and you work with the negative, positive mind and observing again, so immediately when the thought comes in, you have to, the protective mind, have the negative mind, so-called, does the evaluation and checks in with the program in the subconscious mind and sends a signal, okay, this is outside your comfort zone or not, this is how you're going to proceed with that, be careful, there are the consequences, etc., etc. Positive mind, no, I know this is going to work, you've seen the associations to others' success, others have done the same thing, succeeded. I know if I take these steps, I will succeed. So constantly, the pros and cons are, with the negative, positive mind are working. So if you do have that meditative mind, this goes on, doesn't have to go on. I mean, you could take your time, but they say 9 seconds, and then they get that neutral mind, and that's where you receive. That's where you allow it to come through. And the neutral mind still balances what the negative and the positive mind has been giving you, the messages, and then puts it more in a perspective that comes from a neutral state, not fear state, and not thinking about just going forward without knowing what you're doing, right? And that's neutral mind. That's where you're actually able to make more sound decisions. And then again, always bringing that trust, that faith, seeing yourself as the co-creator, working alongside that source energy, God. It can't go wrong with.
Here a student asks what Rompton meant when he said that it takes 9 seconds to cycle through the positive, negative, and neutral mind.
If you are in that high meditative, mind that you are able to really, when you get negative, positive mind is at work, and you're able to process it that fast and get into that neutral zone, that's the time it's given. But is sometimes it could go on, it comes and goes, like you think about something and you have that negative mind again. It's called negative mind because of the polarity of it. It's not a bad thing. It's a protective mind, and then you come to a decision and you feel at peace. You just feel it within. Also notice that too. Where do you feel it? What emotions come along with those thoughts that's coming from the negative mind, bringing those up from the subconscious, and you make a decision, and then you come at peace with it, so to speak, right? And you allow, and then something could come up again, and you go through the same process. So you going through the same process of negative, positive, neutral, many times, but that process of evaluating it, coming to kind of that neutral zone, takes about 9 seconds. But you could keep repeating it. You could repeat it 10 times. So it doesn't necessarily have to come to a conclusion at peace with it in 9 seconds. But it means that process, the mind working, in that manner is 9 seconds. That's what makes it scientific. Exactly. Being able to measure anything, that's what science been focusing on, the measure of things, make it more tangible, being able to verify it in the space and time. That makes it scientific. That's what resonates with our what we've been focused on. That's the Piscean age, which is not bad, but now we go beyond that, the neutral, that what you're experiencing, what you're describing here is, I don't need to measure it. It doesn't have to be 9 seconds. That's even better. That's like, I don't want to call it a shortcut, but it's a more direct way of getting there, not even having to understand, the negative mind is doing this, the positive mind is this, and then I feel that neutral mind. You have that connection. When you start meditating, it is automatic for us to be aware of our body. Okay, some of us even night, okay, I have to meditate for 11 minutes now. Okay, can I sit, straight the whole time? Can I keep my back straight, my spine straight? Can I, all that stuff, my back's gonna hurt, my knees gonna, whatever. All that is the negative mind, But the positive mind has got you to sit here, and I know if I meditate for 11 minutes, it has these benefits for me. So those constantly work. It's part of us, and it's not good or bad. It's just what it is. It's how the mind works. And as you sit and meditate on your breath, then you experience. Then that experiential, and you connect that right. And after a few seconds, like you're in that gap. That's some people call it that gap. There, the void, the shunya, zero. And then again, you feel the need again. It comes back. It's because it's constantly at work, and the signals are constantly being sent to the brain and back and forth. When you get in that neutral mind, you're out of this physical. All this was happening in your body for a little bit. But then again, the subconscious mind has to warn you again. There's something going on here. There's a pain. Pay attention to it. As you meditate more, you learn not to do it, not to give it, and then you further learn. That's how you heal yourself, to send positive thoughts, and you believe in that, and that if I send positive, so think positively. If I send positive energy through visualization, light, love, sound, you listen to the mantra, you could get rid of that pain. But you got to get rid of that negative positive mind, which is again good to have. But if you really want to work from that higher energy for you to heal yourself, not be dependent on drugs, the prescription drugs and this and this and that, that's what you got to practice, meditation.
At this point in the class, one of the students comments that it's really helpful to learn about the positive, negative, and neutral mind. And she almost sounds relieved that, some of the thoughts or negative doubts or fears that she's been having are quote unquote normal. And I think it's one of the big traps of the spiritual path, especially if you study and practice the law of attraction, is we can build a lot of fear and negativity and resistance to our negative mind and our negative emotions. And so it can be freeing and liberating and, help us take away some of those secondary emotions around our negative mind. So as an example, like you have a negative thought or fear, you have a negative thought, you have the fear that's attached to that negative thought, and then there's this like judgment we have of ourselves for having the negative thought to begin with. And of course that just expands the problem. But we can't help it because most of us have this belief system to focus on the positive, think about what you want, think about life as it should be, not as it should be, I'm sorry. Think about life as you want it to be, and then it'll manifest itself for you, which is true and is a beautiful belief. But that doesn't mean that our negative mind goes away or that it's a bad thing. I think the key is letting your negative mind be what it is. Let it give you information, but you don't have to take it so seriously. It's just telling you like what the potential potholes are, what the potential risks are, and then you can kind of with your positive mind, neutral mind, intuition, you can kind of evaluate whether those negatives are real things to consider to change your course, or if you just kind of brush them off and move forward as originally planned. We'll transition back into Rompton's class now. He actually misspoke in a prior part of the class when he said that you should get rid of the negative mind. So he's going to come back here now to clarify what he meant by that.
Neutralizing the negative and the positive mind. Just like I said, that's why, you could say it as okay, again, sitting down, I gotta do the mantra. The ego part is like you evaluate it. Okay, it's gonna take 10 minutes away of my time. I have to be at work at this time. You may be a little hungry, whatever. And so, but I gotta do this mantra. I know it's good for me. But now we get to a place that the mantra, the energy of that, puts you at a place that you're sitting down, and immediately that's what tuning in does. You becoming one with that energy. You become a channel, and you open your heart, open your mind, and the experience is going to be a little different, right?
At this point in the class, a student shares her experience with a lot of synchronicity. Like she'll hear a mantra on the radio and then come into a yoga class and they'll be teaching that mantra, and that it keeps showing up for her, and that it seems like it's a message that that's a path that she should go on. This synchronicity is, for me, one of the most fun parts of practicing Kundalini yoga, and I imagine it's true of any spiritual path, that as you get in alignment and get tuned to that higher frequency, you notice these so-called coincidences, and you can take them for what they are, and that they're signs that you're on the right path at the very least, and then a lot of times they have more meaning than just that. Rompton expands on that concept here as we come back into his class.
Exactly. Is provided. Just focusing on that we are taken care of, as we are part of that source energy, as we are part of this, the infinite, that is infinite. I mean, we can't really comprehend infinite, really, but we're part of that. We are, and we come here as brave soldiers that we are as human beings. This is not easy. And we've been given so many tools, though, to be able to experience this, handle this, what's going on. The physical body, just the aging part, just, the wear and tear, and all the psychological stuff, the energy and the ups and downs, and it's not easy, and then add to it feeling, emotions, and the heart, and what makes us unique as a species, as who we are as beings in this universe, is our heart.
There's no better sentiment to wrap up Rompton's class on than that the pure power, the biggest part that makes us human beings, makes us special, is our heart center. And that, of course, is what Heart-Centered Revolution is all about, getting us more in touch with our heart, getting out of the mind, or the minds, as we learned in today's class, and getting more in touch with our heart and our soul. Let's move into our pranayama practice for today. Today we're going to do the ever-present in Kundalini Yoga breath of fire. So I actually don't recommend doing this one if you're driving a car or doing something where you need to spend your focus. For some people, if you don't have practice at it, you may get dizzy. And it's good to have a little bit of mental space to concentrate on it. Also, if you are on your cycle or pregnant, then you're not supposed to do breath of fire in those conditions because your abdomen, your navel center is already doing enough. So if that's you, then just take long, deep breaths while we do breath of fire. But to get started, let's sit up tall, lengthen your spine. You can tuck your chin just slightly so that there's space at the back of your neck. Relax your face, relax your shoulders. Close your eyes and focus them at the third eye. And then we're going to begin a powerful breath that comes from your navel. So you want to pump your navel center so you'll be able to feel or see your abdomen going out and in, out and in, out and in. And so it's a rhythmic, powerful breath from the navel. And we want to do a powerful exhale and then let the inhale come naturally. And then you'll speed it up. And I should say that the inhale and exhale is through the nose. And so you'll inhale and exhale powerfully, powered by the navel through the nose. It'll sound something like this. It's fairly quick breath, and you want to try to have the equal inhale and exhale. But if that's too much to think about, then just focus on exhaling powerfully and then let the inhale come in. Okay, let's recheck our posture. Sit up tall, chin gently tucked, crown lifted, and begin breath of fire. Keep going. We'll stay here for 3 minutes. Relax your face, relax your shoulders. And as you go, you can feel almost as if your navel, like you're pumping up your aura. So you have this electromagnetic field around you. And as you breathe, envision it pumping up. After a while, your mind might start talking to you, but ignore it. Just stay focused on the breath. Keep those eyes focused at the third eye. If you start to feel dizzy, you can slow the breath down. And keep in mind, you still want to try to get a full breath, a full a full inhale and a full exhale, even though it's happening quickly. Beautiful. Keep it up. Keep that breath going. I'm going to tell you all the things you're doing for yourself right now. You are releasing toxins from your lungs, your blood vessels, and other cells. You're expanding your lung capacity and increasing your vitality. You are strengthening your nervous system. You are balancing your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So that's the nervous system that activates you and the nervous system that relaxes you. You are strengthening your navel chakra. You are increasing your physical endurance. Like I already said, you're expanding your aura, that beautiful electromagnetic field that surrounds you, that protects you energetically. You're increasing the oxygen delivery to your brain. You're strengthening your immune system. And you're helping to synchronize the rhythms of your body. We are almost there to our 3 minutes. I'll join you again and we'll finish strong. Deep inhale. Suspend the breath. Pull on your pelvic floor. Squeeze all the muscles of the body. Feel that energy shoot up your central channel, out the crown of the head. Eyes closed, rolled up to the third eye. Exhale. Relax the face, relax your shoulders, and relax your breath. Take a moment to check in to see what it feels like to do 3 minutes of breath of fire. What's your emotional state, mental state, physical state, and energetic state? And remember, this tool is here for you always. You can always come back to breath of fire when you need it to build up your auric field. You can use it to gear up for a business meeting. You can use it to protect yourself from people or energies that may feel draining for you. It's always here for you. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much again for joining us on episode 3 of Heart Centered Revolution podcast. As I said in the beginning, there is a mini workbook available to you if you'd like to learn more about the 3 minds. It's 3 worksheets. The first one is a table that breaks down the 3 minds and kind of 5 or 6 different components of each mind, including how you balance them. And then the second page is a series of steps that you can take to explore your 3 minds. So this would be useful if you just want to learn more and get more acquainted with what your positive mind sounds like, what your negative mind sounds like, and what your neutral mind feels like. And you can also use it if there's a situation that you feel conflicted about, that you're not sure how to proceed. These steps can help you gain some clarity from your neutral mind in communication with your soul about what your next step may be. So you can access this mini workbook by visiting the website or the webpage heartcenteredrevolution.com/episode 3. So that's where the show notes are for this episode, kind of an explanation of what it's about. But there's also a link at the bottom of the page so that you can get this mini workbook about the positive, negative, and neutral mind. One last thing is that if you've enjoyed this podcast, if you've learned even one thing out of it, if you could please go to iTunes, subscribe so that you can know when new podcasts are released, and also rate and review it. Let us know what you think. Thank you so much, and may the longtime sun shine upon you.